In the previous video, I showed how to take an equation of this type. It's a standard form linear equation in 2 dimensions. How to take that, look at the left side of the equation, and then determine what the slope is. In the case of this line, the slope m is equal to, we know it's negative, and then it's going to be 3 over 4. We know it's negative because the sign between the x and y terms on the left side of the equation is a plus sign, and then the numerator of the slope is going to be the coefficient of the x, and the denominator of the slope is going to be the coefficient of the y, and so we have m equals negative 3/4. This will work as long as the equation is in standard form, and the equation is in standard form as long as the first term is positive, and then we have an x term and a y term separated either by a positive or a negative sign. So let's go on and talk about how it is that we can prove that this method works every single time. Now, for example, suppose that you, in your algebra class, you just write out the slopes for a number of lines, and you do it immediately, and your teacher is wondering, well, how did you do that? Well, then you'll be able to show your teacher by memorizing this proof that it works every single time. Now, hopefully all of you are familiar with the with the equation, whoops, and we'll continue. Hopefully all of you are familiar with the equation y equals mx plus b. And this is called the slope-intercept form of the equation. A standard form equation looks like this. Okay, capital AX plus capital BY is equal to C. So what we want to do is we want to take this equation in standard form, AX plus BY equals C, and we want to convert it into slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The way we're going to do that, the way we're going to start, is by subtracting AX from both sides of the equation. Remember that whatever we do on one side of the equation is what we have to do on the other side of the equation. So in this case, we are subtracting AX from both sides of the equation. And the result is that BY, that's what's left behind, because on the left side of the equation, the AX's cancel out. So we're left with BY is equal to negative AX plus C. So far, what we've done is just subtract AX from both sides of the equation, and we're one step closer to figuring out what y is. So up to this point, we've got BY equals negative AX plus C. Now we're trying to solve for y, so the next step is to divide both sides of the equation by b. So we're going to divide both sides of this equation by b. And here's an interesting thing. Division behaves according to the distributive property just like multiplication does. So when you're dividing two terms in a binomial, you can distribute the number that you're dividing by just like you distribute when you multiply a binomial by the same number. So here's what we get. On the left side of the equation, the b's cancel and we get y. And distributing the division by b on the right side of the equation, we end up with negative AX over b plus C over b. Okay, so far. So just to reiterate, we end up with y equals negative AX over b plus C over b, And then we can rewrite that like this, y equals, and let's separate the fraction a over b from the x. So we can write it like this, negative a over b times x plus c over b. And that's an interesting result. That's the result we want. Y equals negative a, the fraction negative a over b times x plus c over b. Now what we're going to do is just compare this term by term to the slope-intercept form that I left written up at the top of the screen. We see here on the left side of the equation we have y, and on the left side of the equation up at the slope-intercept form we also have y. Here's where it gets interesting. On the right side of the equation, in the first term, we have down here negative a over b times x, and up here we have m times x. Here's what that means. It means that m, the slope, has to be equal to negative a over b. And a further comparison, we see we have plus signs here, or rather plus signs here and here. And then finally, and here we have c over b, and that's capital B. Up here we have lowercase b. Keep in mind that the lowercase b in the slope-intercept form stands for the value of the y-intercept. In other words, the number on the y-axis at which the line crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept from the standard form is going to be equal to whatever number c is, the right side of the equation, divided by the coefficient of y on the left side of the equation. So the y-intercept is c over b. So just to recap all this, what this means is that when we had ax plus by equals c, that was the standard form, the slope of the equation is negative a over b. Those are the coefficients of the x and y terms on the left side of the equation. And notice that minus sign. So whatever the sign between the x terms and the y terms on the left side of the equation, the slope is going to have the opposite sign. And then we get the y-intercept, which is the number that's on the right side of the equation in standard form, divided by the coefficient of the y in standard form.